Welcome to Larry's Library and welcome back to another Sunday Scan. Today I read ElfQuest issue 3. And if you want to see the two previous issues profiled, and go back into my Sunday Scan playlist and you can find that to catch you up. This is the issue we're looking at today. So another gorgeous cover by Wendy Pini, pencils and inks. I love the colors, they really pop here. Nice dynamic shot. You've got Cutter on a wolf, riding a wolf, and he has, well, at this point, before you've read the story, you don't know, but he has a darker-skinned elf, female, that he's got on the wolf rider, on the wolf with him, and she looks pretty alarmed. So we'll see what's going on there. Then you have another elf in the foreground, looks to be from the same tribe as the female, and Cutter is slicing through his spear. Pretty cool. Now I noticed the copyright and the signature on this one is 85. And of course that's when this was printed. So, but the original stories were done earlier, you know, as a indie title before Marvel's Epic line decided to reprint these. So anyway, that tells me that Wendy Pini did some new covers for these editions. Pretty cool. Now, getting into this one, right on the opening page here, Raid at Sorrow's End, and you've got Cutter and Skywise peering over the little mountain area, little hill, where they're looking down at that strange elf city that they found at the end of issue 2. So now we're going to get to see exactly what's going on there. Now, the credit box this time says creator/writer/artist Wendy Pini, co-creator and associate editor Richard Pini. So like I noted on the last issue, that I think Richard Pini's contribution to this is overstated sometimes, because apparently Wendy Pini did pretty much all the writing and all the art. I think Richard must have just sort of helped and with ideas and such. Because now the other credits on the Marvel side, specifically down at the bottom here, it says editor Archie Goodwin, associate editor Joe Duffy, and consulting editor Jim Shooter. And so they're sort of scouting this out and trying to decide what to do here. And they're so desperate at this point. They're desperate from, you know, they're dying of thirst and they need food, and it's just horrible conditions. And so Cutter makes a kind of surprising decision here. I mean, to me as a new ElfQuest reader, he decides that he's just going to they're going to raid this town, this little elf city, and they're going to take the water and the supplies they need. They're not even going to ask. They're not going to take any chances by asking to see if these people are helpful. They're just going to come down there and take it. And on page 3, you see the second half of the page. You see this little bit between the darker-skinned elves. Rayek is the male, and the female's name is Lita. And those are the two from the cover also. You can recognize that. And it looks like Rayek and Lita have had this back and forth for a long time. Rayek is always trying to woo her, so to speak, and she seems kind of playfully resisting, like she's maybe not wanting that. And then we go to the next page. I'll have to scan this one too. And that's when Cutter and his tribe come down the mountain riding on their wolves to do their little raid here, and they're taking food and water, and they're scaring the shit out of these poor more peaceful elves than Cutter's tribe, certainly. More civilized, you might say. So we go through this, and I'll have to scan this page too. Rayek tries to defend Lita from Cutter and his band, and Cutter is much more brutal than him and just immediately snaps his spear, as shown on the cover. And he is Cutter is so taken aback by how beautiful Lita is that he just acts on impulse, and he grabs her up and runs away with her. He just takes off with her. All of Cutter's band are grabbing food and water, and he grabs the girl and just takes off with her. Now, then we cut back, and I'll scan this page as well, to the desert, where we see Red Lance and his mate behind that rock where they left him. Because if you recall in issue 2, and Garage Geek astutely pointed out in the comments, and he was right, that what I noted before in issue 2, where you see Red Lance left behind, and then a couple pages later you see him still traveling with them when they said they were going to leave him behind and come back for him. And as Garage Geek pointed out, the pages were printed out of order. So that's exactly what happened with issue 2, which is kind of surprising. Even though this was adapted from a different format, boy, you had a lot of editors working on this. I mean, really, you had Richard Pini, associate editor. Then you had editor Archie Goodwin, who's one of the tops in the field. I mean, Archie Goodwin was awesome. And Joe Duffy, another great one, associate editor. And then Jim Shooter overseeing the whole thing as consulting editor. So you got 4 editors, and no one caught that page out of sequence in the last issue. That's not good. But, you know, it happens, I guess. So, yeah, Cutter had not returned for Red Lance yet. That was a page discrepancy in last issue. Because we can see here that Red Lance is not looking too good. He's looking like he's going to die. And Nightfall is his mate. I couldn't think of her name, but she's trying to keep him alive. And this is a cool page here. I'll scan this. There's a full page where she tries to sort of psychically reach out to him and bring him around and connect their souls together. And she's remembering all the stuff they had together and their time together. It's just a really well done page here. Beautiful art. And she's contemplating, you know, that if he can't come back soon, she'll put him out of his misery herself. And she's reaching for her dagger. And then we cut back to Cutter's band, and they've made it back up to the other side of the hill. And he's kidnapped this princess, you know, or this, I shouldn't say princess. He's kidnapped this female, Lita. Really not sure why here, other than he thinks she's beautiful, you know, and he's in love with her already. Love at first sight type of thing. So you've got Rayek now and a band of the new elves. And they, you know, I was calling them darker skinned elves. They're much darker. Cutter's band is pale skinned elves. And these new darker skinned elves look sort of vaguely Egyptian in their dress. And they're out in the desert area. And they're used to being in the sun. Totally unlike the forest dwelling elves that is Cutter's band. Anyway, Rayek is climbing the hill, and he's got some warriors with him from the city, from the little town here, and they're trying to get her back. And I'll scan this page here also, where they're trying to decide what to do with her, and she's trying to scream to let Rayek know where they're at. They're hiding in these hills. There's all kinds of little pockets they can hide in. And Rayek is trying to find her, and Cutter's got his hands over her mouth because she keeps trying to scream and give away their position. And so there's a cool little bit here, little sequence where Cutter and Skywise are communicating telepathically, which is a thing that, see if I get it right, the Cutter's elves call sending, which is basically telepathy. So they're talking back and forth in their minds, trying to decide what to do. And she ends up letting out a big scream, giving away their position. And she's like, "Let me go, you savage." And we're at the halfway point in the book. And Rhea comes up there, and Cutter's got Lita over his shoulder. And they get to talking. And Rayek's like, "Let her go," you know. And there's a big altercation here. And then we learn that Rayek and, you know, perhaps all of the darker skinned elves, not sure at this point, has this power where with his eyes he can do this number and free someone, basically. And he lets that power loose on Pike, one of Cutter's band. And he just goes stiff like wood. And so Cutter quickly realizes, hey, the power's in his eyes. Grab him and cover his eyes. So they put a bandage around his eyes so he can't use that power anymore on them. Yeah, and there's another scene where here Lita and Cutter definitely have a connection. So we're already establishing a cool triangle here. You know, we've got Rayek, who obviously wants Lita, and now Cutter, who is obviously connecting with her. So there's going to be some definite romantic triangle business going on there going forward. Yeah, so it is pretty cool. And of course, they end up going back to the town, and you know, the dark-skinned elves are like, well, you know, you didn't have to steal this stuff from us. We would have helped you. You know, we're a peaceful tribe, and we would have helped you out. And a cool scene here where they're all assembled at the town, and they're meeting with Sun Toucher, who is the leader of this town, of this group of elves. And then it's about this time that Cutter realizes, hey, we got to go back for Redlance and Nightfall that we left at that in those rocky hills in the desert. So he decides he's going to go back and get them. And Lita says, hey, I'll go with you because I'm a healer. And Rayek's like, well, you're not going with him. You're not going out in the desert on this journey by yourself with this Cutter guy. No. So he volunteers to go with them, you know. So there we go with that romantic triangle. So they set across the desert again to go find their lost companions. And they find them, and really cool near 3/4 page panel here, almost the full page, of Lita laying on hands basically on Redlance to heal him. And it's beautiful, beautiful art here. And she uses her magic healing powers and keeps him from dying, brings him back to full strength. They all go back to the town together. It's pretty cool. And then here at the last, they take Cutter's band. They say, hey, you need to talk to the Mother of Memory. So we don't know what this person is, but they lead them to this very ornate building, and they go inside, and that's how this issue ends. We've got a nice big panel here where there's this mysterious figure. I don't know if she's some sort of oracle or what. I guess we'll find out next issue. But another great, really large panel with some beautifully detailed art by Wendy Pini. Just great stuff. So glad I got this series. Pretty happy with how that's going. And I love this art for sure. So, hope you like taking a look at that. 2 weeks, I'll do issue 4. And next week, I'm going to wrap up Godzilla. So, issue 24 of Godzilla, that's the last one of Marvel's late 70s Godzilla series. So, I'm going to wrap that up next week. And then we'll come back for more ElfQuest the following week. So, if you like that, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you next time.